This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news of the business of podcasting, brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Tom Webster. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, April 15th. First of all, Americans, pay your taxes. The 2024 IAB Podcast Upfront, demonstrating the power of podcast advertising and captivating audiences. On May 9th, the IAB will gather brands, agencies, and media buyers for their annual Podcast Upfront. The event will be hosted in New York City and streamed on IAB.com. In addition to the usual presentations from big names in podcasting, the IAB will debut their 8th installment of the annual U.S. Podcast Advertising Revenue Study. Sounds Profitable will be present at the Upfront, interviewing buyers live during the event. I spent millions. That from Jordan Harbinger in his 3 lessons to podcast advertisers. In a LinkedIn post promoting his appearance in Entrepreneur's Startups magazine, podcaster Jordan Harbinger shares his experience growing the Jordan Harbinger Show through buying ads on other podcasts. As discovered while working with Sounds Profitable on our study After These Messages, Harbinger says completely scripted ad reads can impact the authenticity and credibility one wants from a podcast ad in the first place. Rethinking Success, how public radio stations can leverage podcasts for audience, impact, and revenue. New Hampshire Public Radio Director of On-Demand Audio, Rebecca Lavoie, gives 5 strategies for how public radio stations could potentially leverage podcasts as an audience development tool while keeping them financially solvent. Podcasts can be a valuable vehicle for audience growth and get revenue for stations, and as such, stations should not be afraid of the idea that podcasts aren't self-sustaining. As Lavoie puts it, a local radio station wouldn't flinch at signing off on a newsroom project that might reach 15,000 people. Yet a podcast with 15,000 weekly listeners might seem small in comparison to the industry's big names. Stations should focus on growth at a scale and pace that's sustainable over the long term and reframe what it means to have a successful podcast. NBCUniversal nets $1.2 billion in Olympics ad sales more than 100 days out from Paris 2024. NBCUniversal has completely sold out of both digital and linear ad inventory for the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2024 Olympics Games in Paris. The network has accrued $1.2 billion in ad sales, according to NBCU's president of Olympic and Paralympic Partnerships, Dan Lovinger, on a press call last week. As with any major sporting event, podcasting stands as an excellent source of inventory for brands looking to get in on the action after the traditional vehicles sell out. Sports podcasts are growing in popularity, have open inventory, and feature passionate, engaged audiences. And as for the rest of the news, Audioboom's Q1 2024 trading update shows 11% revenue growth and a record Q1 eCPM, average global revenue per 1,000 downloads, of $42.17. Adam Sachs is leaving SiriusXM Team Coco to be an on-demand expert on consultation service, Intro. With Spotify making follower counts public information, the Podglomerate has created a sheet documenting nearly 1,000 of the most followed shows on Spotify, aggregated from the top 50 podcasts of each of Spotify's 17 categories. Alitu debuts their next generation of audio editing tools, including filters that automatically slice filler words like and ah, as well as long silences. I could probably use that. And Edison Research has published the top 5 podcasts with the highest portion of their audience that listened exclusively to that show. Those, of course, among the top 500 podcasts, which are what Edison measures. And we're getting political today in the data snapshot available right now on soundsprofitable.com. There's a link in the show notes. Today, we break down a slide from 2022's Safe and Sound study, which finds the percentage of weekly podcast users who reported voting in the 2020 presidential election. Spoiler alert, podcast listeners tend to vote. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, and me, Tom Webster. This episode is hosted on Spreaker and recorded on Namano. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Tom Webster. Download us again tomorrow.